In London, technology is the Silicon Roundabout. Introducing a new talk show dedicated to the people of the London technology startup scene. Silicon Real. Each week, interviewing entrepreneurs, venture capitalists, financial technology, accelerators, and incubators in an exciting three-person format. Learn about the people behind the innovation. Locally filmed, locally sourced. Silicon Real. It's about the people. This is Silicon Real. It's the weekly talk show dedicated to all those fantastic people of the London technology startup scene. I'm Brian Rose. I also host London Real in this same very studio. We do some non-tech stuff over there, so if you ever want to take a break from that, you can go check out some cool people. I had probably the coolest dude in the UK here yesterday. Mr. Ashley Walters was part of the So Solid crew, which was a garage and hip-hop group in the Millennium times. Then he also went and started on as Top Boy in the series Top Boy, which is located right here in Hackney. He was a really cool dude, so we had a talk for like an hour and a half. We talked about what it's like to have a #1 single when you're 19 years old, what it's like to go to prison for having a gun, you name it. So anyways, check that.
You had the investment biker on the Jim Rogers.
Yeah,
I gotta watch that.
Yeah, I have what I call the Grumpy Old Man series. And it's a bunch of old guys and they talk about finance and stuff. And everyone loves those guys.
Yeah, when I did the China motorcycle ride, people were like, oh, you know, ex finance guy doing motorcycles, and they were like, so
I definitely thought
cool.
him.
I gotta watch that one.
Yeah, so check those out. It's londonreal.tv, but we're here today to talk tech. My co-host is entrepreneur Colin Pyle, who's making mad coffee these days. What's going on?
Yeah, busy times. Everything's going well, man. Just coming out with a few new blends, looking at some of our own machines, growing the business. Lingos is going well. Looking for a CTO for Lingos. So if anyone's out there interested, fits the bill, drop me a tweet and we'll take it from there.
Awesome. And the motorcycle ride through India is coming out on the Travel Channel?
Yeah, it's out on the Travel Channel globally. The UK got pushed back because they didn't want to air it during the World Cup.
That's probably smart.
So things are going really well. And
Renaissance man in the building.
And someone texted me to say hello to them on this live podcast.
But we don't know who it is.
I don't know who it is. So
okay, well, text again if that's you.
I'll just say hello and we can edit it in later maybe.
Hello to all the love. Awesome. Okay, cool. Thanks so much for being here.
Cheers.
Our guest today is Mr. James Gill, who is the CEO of GoSquared, which is a real-time web analytics platform, including e-commerce tools, which you guys rolled out in February.
Yeah,
so companies can compete with the big boys like Amazon. You guys have over 50,000 sites using your tools.
Yeah.
Your competition is places like Google Analytics.
Another small company.
Another big boy there. We use you guys for London Real, and I have to tell my guys to stay off GoSquared because it's like crack rock on that stuff. I mean, you go in there, it's got, quite honestly, a sick user interface, and you can track these people, where they're coming from, what they're doing on your site, if they came back from the day before, where they're located in the world. And that's just our basic stuff, let alone e-commerce and stuff. So I actually have to tell people to get off of it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So, because it's really addictive, you know. Right. Thanks for that. James, you founded this company 8 years ago when you were even younger than you are now.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that, but right now, welcome to Silicon Real.
Cheers, pleasure to be here. And I must say the coffee is amazing. I'm rolling on that right now.
There we
it's
go.
Very good.
Wow.
I didn't pay him to do that.
Yeah, there's not like a 50 under the table.
Crewcafe.com.
Crewcafe.com. Go check it out. That's Colin's startup, so get involved.
Yeah.
It is very good coffee. Before we get on to the analytics, I just want to talk about your age, because you started this company 8 years ago, which is something we always seem to come up. Everyone thinks, startups are 2 and 3 year and you flip ventures, but you would know more than anything. You spent probably your third of your life.
When you put it like that.
I was about to say that you started this company at university, but you started it before that, right?
Yeah. So it was back in 2006. So I met my co-founders when we were, I think we were probably studying for our GCSEs at the time, which we were like 14, 15 years old back then.
How old are you now?
I turned 23 just recently.
Okay.
So,
You look older than 23.
Is that a good thing?
I don't know. Well, you should talk about that too. So you started this when you were 14, 15 years old.
Yeah. So it was more of a hobby back then, I must admit. But name GoSquared, started doing web stuff. I started learning to design. my friends who I started with started learning how to program, and it's just rolled and rolled and rolled from then. And it's gone through tons of different, like, it's kind of been a bunch of different companies rolled into one. I guess you'd call it a pivot in today's lingo, but we were just learning how to try and build a company back then. And for the last sort of 2.5, 3 years, it's been a much more serious business full time. And it's been one hell of a ride so far. So
let's just talk about age really quick before we get into business model, because I always wondered about this. They're talking about in Silicon Valley now, guys my age, I'm rocking 43, by the way, they go in for the Botox and stuff because, like, even if you're in your 30s, a lot of guys are like, okay, you're a bit over the hill. I mean, I don't know if it's to that degree in London, but do you find that there is this optimal age in the mid-20s? I mean, maybe you're right on the beginning of that, or does your age affect you?
I think in the early days it was a real concern that, like, we were so young no one would take us seriously. Right. So I think there is, like, definitely this optimal age. I don't know. I think it's just if you're doing cool stuff, and you can be any age if you're clued in and you're in the scene, then the age doesn't matter too much. But I think for us, when you're at school, you got nothing to worry about. You don't need to worry about paying to feed a family, put money on the table for everyone. And there's just so much more opportunity then. All you need to do is worry about whether you can fit it in with homework and stuff. But yeah, I think 20s is a great time to be doing this stuff.
What's the oldest employee at your company?
At the moment, we're still a very young company. Like, I think the average age is 22, 21,
do you age discriminate?
Sounds like ageism.
We do not age discriminate. We have had people working with us who have been all the way up to 30.
That's all good. But I mean, seriously, if I was in my 20s, I remember when I was, like, trading on Wall Street, I was in my 20s, and I'd be like, some 35-year-old guy, I'd be like, are you kidding me? Like, if you haven't made enough money to retire.
Grandpa, get out of here.
And I was like, but come on, it is a little bit of a culture clash,
Yeah. So, I think it definitely stands out when you're at meetups. But I think, the age is rarely actually the thing that matters. It's like, you can tell if you're like at a meetup or an event and someone clearly isn't in this world. But that can be applicable to someone who's 19 as much as it can be to someone who's 40. It's just, I think there's people all ends of that spectrum who know their stuff, and I don't know. I don't think age is too big of a deal these days.
Okay, I hope you're right. If it's tech, you would think it's like what you can produce. So you mentioned the pivot earlier. I want to talk about that right away. It's such a tech term. Like, I said it to someone today, not in the field, and the guy's like, "Oh, so you changed your mind?" But it is a bit more. It's different than that, because you start off with something, but if you're actually listening to the feedback, which is what you have to do, and if you have to change up, you have to change up. You guys started GoSquared. These were square pieces of advertising space you were selling, right?
Man, it started. So just to clarify, I hate the word pivot. I hate using that word. But,
why do you hate it?
I don't know. I just think it's so cliched. It is very much like people have changed their mind, but need to put a lean startup spin on it.
Is it laced with failure or something?
It sounds less ambiguous. Like, to an investor, you're like, oh, and then we pivoted. Rather than like, oh, I was fucking really wrong when I went this way, and so I decided to go this way.
Yeah, like, to be honest, like, when we started, the internet was a very different place to where it is now, and the whole startup scene is just so different. But back then, I saw Alex Chu's $1 Million homepage, and we just
little pixels.
And I don't know if you've seen that, but
it doesn't swing a bell. It's just all these different ads.
It's this beautiful site with 1 million pixels in this grid, and you could buy like a square of pixels, and that would be advertising space forever. And so every pixel was $1 each, and I think so many people, we weren't the only ones, but like so many people cottoned onto that as being this genius, simple idea, and sort of thought they could give it a go. And I was always much more interested in design than anything else, and we thought, like, let's try and do that, but actually make it look good. And so that's how GoSquared was born. We were selling a grid of 5x5 square ad spaces on our homepage. And,
5 pixels.
So there was just five squares, so they were each like 140 pixels square. Right. So there was like a nice bit of space, and that got us started. I started learning HTML and CSS and learning how to like do web design, and Jeff, my co-founder, started learning PHP, and JT started learning JavaScript, and this was back in the really early days, and it got us together building something as a project, and over time it evolved, and we started a blog. It turned into like an advertising network, more of a marketplace. And then after all of that, we got into analytics and tracking these sites to help price the ads. And that's where we are today with the sort of real-time analytics platform. And it's just been this like roller coaster ride of trying stuff out and just knowing when one thing's not working, switching and moving on to something else. And it's been a great way of learning, I must say, just jumping in and going for it.
That's a good pivot story. I like that. Right? And what does your product look like now? I mean, and are you happy with it? I mean, when you go around and you pitch people on what you're doing, or you look at the Google Analytics, the competition, are you guys like, yes, we are where we want to be, number one? How do you evaluate
Yeah,
things?
so I think, when we got into the space, we were the first guys doing real-time analytics, and I think back then it was really exciting, and it's even more exciting now. But there's a lot more competition going on. Google's pacing ahead very fast with their product, and it does a lot of stuff, but it's very complex. And then there's a lot of other guys in more sort of niche verticals doing a lot of interesting stuff too. From my perspective, it's always been critical for us to build something that like anyone can use, that's so damn easy that people will even want to use it. So even if it's a bit addictive, I apologize for that. But
it's quite readable and usable.
Yeah,
I was looking at it today, and it plotted the previous day traffic over the current day traffic, and you could see like how much less or worse. Like it's obvious things in retrospect. That's what a great UX is, right? It's such a simple design.
Right.
Yeah. That means we spent years on it. Right?
Yeah, we're trying to do stuff that like just makes sense. But a real challenge is, you got things like Google Analytics. It does everything. There's very few things it doesn't do, but because it does everything, it's really hard for someone to pick it up and just get value out of it from day one.
Yeah.
So what we're always trying to do is think, how can we make this easier? How can we get someone to getting insights and taking action faster? And I think the product does that a lot today. And I think over the next year, God, there's so many awesome things we've got in the works. And it's one of the most annoying things when someone asks me like, how's the product doing right now? You're always looking forward to the next release. But I think it's really exciting. I think the competition is hotter than ever, but I think it's just such a great space and so much innovation still ahead of us. I think just the overall idea of, people don't really want analytics. They want to just know how to make their site better. They want to know how to take action and actually make things, improve things. And the closer we can get to telling people and informing people around insights rather than forcing people to look at graphs and charts, I think the better job we'll be doing. So. Yeah, tons of innovation.
Would that happen like automatically? So almost like AI telling you like, hey, you got to lower your price for this product?
I think, there's tons of stuff that could be done. Right. It's almost like the simpler you make it for the user, the more work you have to do as a service. But, I think there's lots of things like, very simple things like rather than showing someone, all your users are on IE and some of your users are on Chrome, you can be doing things like, don't use HTML5 video on your site because most of your users won't be able to view it. So like taking stuff that you already know, but turning it into like information and actions is definitely sort of where we want to be taking things. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty powerful tool when you do that. We had someone on here, I think it was Snap Fashion, where they're, taking a photograph and they're trying to analyze what it is. Is it a clothing? Is it something like that? And maybe it was someone else where their direct competitor was like a Google. And you're taking a network of like 6, 8, 10 people, and you're competing against such a huge company. Yeah. And I was just wondering if you ever have to get your head around that, or if you ever have to think to yourself, no, we can do it better because we're quicker and we're faster and we're the Instagram against the whatever. Kodak, and, we're all that.
I love that kind of. Well, that's one of the things that I love.
Amazon.
I think that's one of the things I loved about when we were getting started. It's that we could be a bunch of kids still at school and have a web presence that competed with the big guys. And I think that's one of the great things just about the web today. No matter what size you are, you can still build things from your own bedroom that compete with massive companies
as long as there's net neutrality.
Yeah. Don't get me started. But I think well for us, I think there's it's easy to look at Google and they're the huge guys in the room, but there's tons of things that a company like us can offer that Google can't, you know? You don't get to talk to anyone when you're using Google Analytics, for instance. A lot of these big companies, you know, you don't get support. You can't go and reach out to whoever's working on it. They don't necessarily listen to feedback on which features are needed. They don't necessarily want to go down certain routes because they want to build this product that works for the masses.
Right.
And so I think there's huge opportunities for us to, you know, use those things to our advantage. And another thing with like the whole NSA scandal and all of this is that, you know, people have a bit more trust with us. You know, they're paying to use our platform. We're not going and like sending all that data off to some government agency, or we're not selling it on to advertisers. And so I think there's a lot more sort of honesty in our business model that our customers seem to appreciate. And you know, when you weigh all these things up and add them all together, it becomes a pretty weighty argument for why you could use something like GoSquared over bigger tools like GA. And yeah, I think tons of room for innovation as well. There's so many exciting features that us and a load of other startups are working on that like Google just, you know, they can't do everything.
I saw on your timeline that you guys moved over to Amazon Cloud Services like a few years in.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that hit me, but I just wanted to ask you, were you guys one of the early adopters to that? And what's that been like?
I would say, yeah. So Jeff, my co-founder, was pretty much the one who did all the fun work on the migration. But like back then, I think it may have been just after like we got our first sort of coverage on TechCrunch, and it just blitzed us. Like we were on like this one server on a shared hosting platform, and we were just completely destroyed by it. And so we were like, shit, we need to sort this out. You know, we can't have this every time we get any coverage. And so, you know, at the time there was literally Amazon and a few other small players, and I think maybe Rackspace had something going on, but Amazon just looked like they were ready to transform the space. And I think like the concept of paying by the hour for servers, and that you could boot up like 100 servers for an hour and it would cost you the same as booting one server for a whole month. Like that sort of flexibility was just amazing. And for us, you know, we had this weird kind of like scaling situation where if you think about Facebook, if they get a lot of users, they can kind of predict the amount of bandwidth that each user will use. Whereas for us, we have this like free trial, unlimited free trial. So, you know, Joe Bloggs with his individual site signs up, that's fine. But then you could get like, I don't know, the Wall Street Journal signing up the next day. And just that unpredictability meant we needed to scale really quickly. And so, yeah, Amazon just came along at exactly the right time. We jumped on there. And it's not like you just suddenly have a scalable platform when you jump on something like Amazon. You have to re-architect things. And over time, and I can't take any credit for this, like Jeff and JT and the guys have spent most of the amount of time they've spent on getting things to work together so that you have like servers dedicated to individual tasks and being able to scale things like that. It's been a huge job. And like at the end of the day, users never see it because the service just works, but you have to spend so much time and manpower like getting a scalable architecture working. And it's one of the fun challenges of trying to grow, but they're great problems to have. But Amazon's made so much stuff possible for us that we just couldn't do otherwise, I think.
Are they being monitored by the NSA?
Yeah, maybe. They seem to know their stuff on security. But
they run the CIA websites.
Well, they've got a thing called GovCloud, which is like their own data center for a lot of government stuff in the US, which is supposedly all separate from the like consumer stuff. But Amazon's got some massive businesses using AWS now. It's crazy.
Huddle's got some government stuff he was saying, remember?
Oh yeah. Huddle does all the UK kind of cloud stuff, don't they? Yeah. You know, you mentioned customer service. I mean, if one of these guys goes to your website and it's not working, you're not going to get a second call back, right? I mean, if they try the free trial, what have you learned about customer service over the last few years, and then compared to the Yanks? Because the Yanks really stepped their customer service game way up, don't they?
Oh God, yeah. So I mean, I've always tried to offer the best damn customer service we can. It's a no-brainer. Like it's one of those huge advantages we have over like the big guys. But I think one of the things is just how challenging it gets when you are growing. You know, you can deal with a couple of requests a day, but then when you're scaling up to, you know, you've got a bigger team, but you've also got a lot more users on board, and then you have one blip or one outage, and the amount of people that affects it, it's really, really tough to work out how to manage that. Originally we just had an inbox and we're just, okay, I'll deal with that. But then you need a support system, and then you need to start working out the frequently asked questions and getting them all nailed down. It's never perfect, but I think the one thing we've really learned is just response time is everything. And even if you can't get back with a great response, getting back within 10 minutes makes so much difference compared to getting back to someone 12 hours later. And I think, response time is the number one thing, I think. And also, I think one of the things that's changed is how much of our support now happens on Twitter rather than over email. And we've got this great tool that basically every tweet is like a support ticket, and we just get back to stuff instantly. So if anyone ever has issues with GoSquared, Twitter's always the best way.
What's that tool?
It's called Spark Central, and it's admittedly quite an enterprise level tool, but the guy who made it, Davey, we were hanging out one time, and he just I think he lets us use it, and a couple of other cool companies. Okay. But I know Buffer use it as well, and cool. they've got some massive companies using it now. Guys like Delta Airlines, and so we feel so lucky to have known about this early on. But it's been a great way for us to just get back to people super quick, and it's really cool.
I can't remember, maybe Bloomberg or something did a thing on the response time depending on which sort of medium you use to contact the customer or the company, and Twitter was one of the fastest because they don't want, obviously everyone sees it. So
exactly. If someone's waiting on something on Twitter for a day, they're gonna start tweeting GoSquared didn't get back to me.
Exactly. And that's, the customer just has so much power now.
It completely changes that balance, doesn't it?
And a nice change too.
Well, it depends what side you're on.
Well, that's true.
Because I love all my coffee customers, but it's just sometimes people are just so goddamn whiny. It drives me crazy.
Because the one bad customer can cost you hours and hours and hours and hours and lots of money. So.
Exactly.
Business model. I'm sure Colin's going to hit you with a few questions. You always seem to dig in.
There we go. You guys are subscription, I guess.
So monthly and annual subscriptions we offer.
Is there, do you see any amalgamation in the sector coming up? Do you think a few small players would maybe join together and increase that? Because I guess Ivan co-hosted a few weeks ago, and Ometria is. I think maybe you can explain the difference of some of the platforms that are out there and how you guys differ for the layman like myself. Right,
because he has an e-commerce platform, but I think that's separate in the real-time analytics. I don't know.
No, Ometria's doing some cool stuff. Really have a lot of respect for those guys. I would say, for us, I don't look at many startups as competition. I just think that when you look at how much money is in the industry and where it's going, there's GA, which is free, but there's also GA Premium, which is 100K annual contracts. There's Omniture, which is ridiculous contract sizes, Web Trends, these huge guys. And the thing that really frustrates me is that a lot of these bigger tools are, they're massive contracts, they have huge sales teams, and at the end of the day, the product is used by 2 or 3 guys in a huge company, and everyone ends up emailing the analytics guy, gets a report, and waits a day for it. And I just think the big opportunity for all sorts of startups, Ometria, Mixpanel, Chartbeat, Kissmetrics, GoSquared, it's putting this data and putting these insights into the hands of the people that really need it, and I think that's the real opportunity for us. And I think when I look at our customer base, a lot of our customers have multiple different tools on, and I think it's very hard to find one tool that does everything right for every customer, and so I think that's why there's so many different people doing stuff in this space. People need customer-focused analytics, people need e-commerce analytics, people need publishing-focused analytics, and there's so much room to have great solutions that focus in on those needs, while also which are far better at those needs than say something like Google Analytics, which just does an okay job for everyone.
And how much is it a month Is it very tiered?
We oh man, pricing is a whole
it's crazy. Don't
it's a
even
wonderful
go there.
art and science when trying to decide pricing. But we do basically per
Did you
page
use your
view.
own system to determine how to charge pricing?
In real time.
In real time.
Yeah. Well, basically, it's very simple for us. It's just like the more page views you have, the more you pay. But
Okay.
you can get started for like 10, 15 quid a month, and
Cool.
goes right up to like bigger guys paying us thousands a month, depending on.
I gotta try it.
size, yeah.
Again, the coffee just got kicking off. We use Crazy Egg. Do you know
Oh
Crazy?
yeah, for heat mapping. and
Yeah, it
stuff.
was pretty cool. But
Yeah.
again, it's something that I just don't have the time, and I don't have
Yeah.
a specific guy on my team to look at that. So
Yeah,
it ends
yeah.
up being me, and to look at a dashboard that's just much easier and gives me
Yeah.
the things I need to see.
Exactly.
would
So many
be
people
helpful.
say that like
Yeah.
using Google Analytics, but they've got it installed, but they like
No,
they
I
don't
have
know where
Google
to start,
Analytics
you know?
installed
They don't
too.
actually
Yeah.
use it.
Yeah, exactly.
I know.
So,
I log in and I'm just like, oh shit.
yeah,
no, it's-
yeah, it's like, and they change it every week, and it's
Yeah.
like this is moved, that's moved, they renamed that, and
Right.
Yeah, they're
I don't
not
know.
always good.
It's-
And their ad buys and ad word platforms
Yeah.
are really bad.
I got so angry at Google AdWords because we make Nespresso compatible pods. Sorry
Yeah.
to keep going to coffee.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so I can't
Oh, you
use
do coffee, huh?
Yeah, so, okay.
Are you an entrepreneur?
crewcafe.com. But so Nespresso is a trademark term, so you can't use it in an ad.
Yeah.
But all of our competitors are using it. So I was like screen grabbing, like Nespresso pods, and you'd see like all of these competitors that are doing sort of what we're doing, and I'm just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then it's like to your thing, it's like, how do you contact them? And then you just end up sitting on the phone for like
Somebody told me
2
that one
hours.
time. They're like, call YouTube customer service.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Email YouTube customer
Yeah.
service. Yeah, it doesn't exist.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like tweet at Google. It's like, that
Oh,
doesn't work
God.
either, right? It's just like, and the giant, how do you
Tweet the
get a hold of it?
machine.
Yeah, exactly. Tweet the machine, it'll get mad at you.
And how is business? How are your revenues?
It's good. It's good. So we've been growing and growing over the last few months, and one of the things we did was introduce a new pricing system, which starts at a slightly higher price point. We got rid of our free plan like late last year, and that was I was really nervous about that move and what that would do to our numbers. But it turned out that like conversion from our trial to premium actually like doubled when we dropped our free plan, which was pretty exciting. So but yeah, like the aim for us right now
Could have
is
gone the other way, right?
well, I don't know, we were just worried like will it piss off the community
Sure.
and stuff, and so far touch
good.
wood,
It's
it's been
good.
okay. But yeah, the aim for us right now is just to continue growing on the revenues coming in. We're doing great. The revenues are growing every month, and we're getting to the point where it's break even, and we're just continuing to grow the revenues as much as we can. And we're not really looking for more funding at the moment. We're just trying to continue to grow our customer base. And I just think there's so many customers, especially at a higher end, that we could be winning right now, and it's going to be exciting. Yeah, we've got some pretty tough targets to meet.
People are willing to pay for analytics, though.
Absolutely, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I think it's a combination of better tools, more niche tools, and also the team and the support and the sort of training you get with that makes it a valuable proposition for people, I think.
What kind of financing have you had? I didn't even know.
Oh yeah, so we've raised, it must be like 2.5, 3 years ago, we raised from Passion Capital before like Passion was properly set up. So the angels at Passion, Eileen Burbage, Stefan Glinzer, and Robert DeGuerro, and they all put like money in individually, and also Thomas Jones, who is now at an angel, a startup VC called Charlotte Street Capital. So they put in, a small round early on, and the funny story about that was like Jeff and I took a gap year out after school, like after we'd done our A-levels to see if we could make GoSquared work. And we were like, man, we're going to be in our office in London. We're going to be, living the high life, running a startup. And, by the end of the gap year, we're like, okay, it's been fun, but like off to uni now. Let's get on with our lives. Let's keep GoSquared going on the side. And a week before, we were like just packing for uni, and I get this random email from Eileen at Passion, and she's like, we've seen you guys, we've been following you for a few months, you want to come in and chat? and we go and chat, and she's like, yeah, here's the deal. We'll put some money in. We'll do a round. You guys will be full time on this. How does that sound? And Jeff and I, like JT was already at uni at this point, but yeah, Jeff and I were like, oh my God. And so we went to uni for like 4 or 5 weeks thinking, what do we do? What do we do? And we spoke to like everyone we knew. And in the end, we were like, screw it, let's run GoSquared full time. And so yeah, Jeff dropped out of Nottingham. I dropped out of Exeter Uni after like five intense, hardworking weeks, and went on to run GoSquared full time out of White Bear Yard. And so since then, we've raised another round from. So Passion followed on with Atlas Ventures over in Boston,
okay,
led by Fred Destin, and yeah, so that and that was a larger round.
We're talking millions.
It was closer to $1 million,
okay.
And yeah, I mean we haven't raised like Dropbox sums of money here, but
okay.
We've taken quite a we've taken an approach where we haven't gone mental, we haven't gone crazy, and we've just tried to grow as organically as we can, and the money's really helped do that and hire at the right times and get us to where we are now, which we're really thrilled with. So.
But you could use another chunk of change in the next 12 to 18 months.
We you could always do with more money, but I think for us, I just really like our priority right now. That is, let's build a solid business with solid revenues, and that will give us the sort of the ability for us to make our own decisions going forward. There's nothing
answer.
Worse than there's nothing worse than like knowing you've got like 3 months left and you've got to raise money and you've got to take whatever comes your way, and I think we're just putting ourselves in the best position. Yeah.
Okay.
So when Eileen first called you up,
yeah,
how old were you?
I think 18, 19, I think, yeah.
So, I think it's a fear for a lot of kids out there, and especially me. If someone called me up at 18, 19, I wouldn't have a clue, right? What a term sheet looks like.
Yeah.
Am I getting screwed over? Maybe talk to, I think that'd be helpful for a lot of our guests potentially. But,
sure.
Who'd you reach out to? What resources?
Yeah, for sure. So I had a really good friend at the time who was running a company a bit like Songkick, actually. And yeah, he was the one who originally made the connection with Eileen and me, called James Proud, and he's now over in the Valley. But he was like the same age as me, and I always sort of saw him as being like a step ahead, and like he's almost like in the next year at school. He's already done all that. And he kind of gave me a lot of feedback on Eileen and Passion, and really made it clear like they're not going to screw you around. They know what they're talking about. They've got the experience. And then I think when we had the meeting with Eileen and Stefan, it just really highlighted to me that they knew what they were talking about. My impression of investors at the time was like all they care about is profit margin, how much revenue bringing in, and I think most angel investors now are pretty sensible to know that those aren't the key performance indicators at such an early stage. You've got to be looking at the product, the team behind it, and what they plan to do, what their vision is. And I think that was what just really stood out for me, that they were willing to put the money in based on us as a team. And yeah, I must admit, like we were clueless about like what even raising money would even involve. So and the scene back then was so different as well, like White Bear Yard had maybe 2 or 3 companies in it and was one of maybe 2 startup hubs or co-working spaces in London, and there weren't that many startups around, but one of the cool things was being at White Bear Yard, there were a couple of other people doing that, and we spoke to a lot of people there. My dad's always run his own businesses, not in tech, but in advertising. And so he's always kind of, I guess, like given his path through life, I never kind of assumed I'd be working for someone else. I kind of thought I would maybe end up running something my own one day. And I don't know, I just think that it sort of all the timing kind of worked out fairly well. And just based on like how legit Eileen and Stefan and Robert seemed, we just sort of thought, let's go for it.
A leap of faith.
Like, let's just go for this, and what's the worst that can happen? And a great thing as well was Jeff and we spoke to our universities, and they were like, we wouldn't normally let this happen, but you can come back next year if this doesn't work. And so suddenly it was like, oh shit, let's do this.
Right.
And in retrospect, were the terms of the deal good? And when you look back on it, you're like,
I don't think we could ask for better angels in London. So
he's actually a veteran in this space. If you actually listen to what he's saying,
seriously,
he's been around.
He's been around the beginning of the roundabout.
Get the wrinkles, the grey hair.
Yeah, exactly.
8 years. That's a long
you got
time.
some gray hair? No, no gray hair yet.
You know, the big thing I got to ask you, this is Silicon Real, so let's talk about acquisitions. You guys seem like a ripe target for someone to scoop up. And so I'm wondering, is that something that you actually solicit? And if it's not, then are you not doing your job as the CEO? You like that
Yeah. Man, that's something that comes up every now and again.
Because, you know, people could grab you for a pivot. People could be like, look, this is real-time analytic information. We might not use it for this. We'll use it for this.
Yeah, I don't know. I think personally, I don't want to be acquired at this point in time. I mean, not me as a person, I mean, GoSquared. And I just think like there's a few reasons behind that, but like one of them is, you know, I think there's so much opportunity to still innovate in this space, and I think that we're doing a lot of things uniquely at GoSquared, and we are coming up with a lot of our own ideas in-house, and I know like our roadmap for the next 6-12 months, and I want us to be doing that stuff ourselves. And I also think, you know, a lot of people, okay, so money aside, I think, you know, when you're at school, you're thinking like, what do I want to do in life? And if I can do something that I enjoy, that's going to be great. And if I can make money from it, that's even better. And I think, you know, on the team, we've got this shared understanding that we all love what we're doing. We're setting our own destiny with what we're building. And I just can't imagine us wanting to do anything else. Like even if we were still GoSquared, but working in another company, it wouldn't be the same, you know, reporting to senior management or, you know, shareholders and things like that. I love what we're doing right now, and I think there's just so much opportunity to do that under our own roof right now.
That's how good companies succeed.
Yeah, and
feeling like that. Right?
Well, hopefully.
I mean, if you're looking for the exit around the corner, I mean, it's very hard to.
And that would be distracting as well if we were like knocking on doors to, you know, see if someone will. I'm not saying we haven't had offers. You know, we've had, you know, a lot of companies come along and, you know, nose around, see what they want, but we've just not really wanted to go down that route. And also like, I don't know, at the moment, I just really want to do as much as we can in the UK. I think a lot of people view success as selling out to Google, Apple, Facebook or something. And it feels like a startup dies every time they sell to Google, to Facebook.
To an American company is what you're saying. Just say it.
Startup crushers.
It's just like you see how many great companies Facebook buys, and then you just hear nothing from them ever again. It's like
go into the pool.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see.
Okay, a good answer, tactfully answered as well, a veteran answer. Okay, talk about
23 with press. He's been press training.
I'm telling you, you can grab this guy. You know what? Let's hit on net neutrality before we wrap up. Will the net stay neutral or not? That's crucial to your business, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I don't know if I sincerely hope so. Is all I can say. I don't know. We'll have to see. It's going to be interesting. And it's also going to be interesting seeing what the larger companies are really going to, you know, what kind of fight they're going to put up. You know, Google's always tried to play the good guys in this space and fighting for everyone to have access to the internet. And I know, will they be happy to just sit back and let this one slide, and knowing they'll be able to pay their way? And I don't know. We'll have to.
It's hard to say with these, you know, NSA revelations that comes out. You get a lot of these protests, and you don't know if it's just lip service. And they were in Obama's office, and the Zuckerberg letter to the White House, and I don't know who's the politician here. I can't tell. And it's not in the interest of a lot of big companies, right? So I mean, the Justice Department is making a ruling on it. I don't know. That flabbergasted me that the American justice system would consider that there wouldn't be a neutrality. But you know, I guess this is going to get worked out.
Yeah, I don't like to get too
Where's
involved
Anonymous?
in politics. Good question.
Come on, Anonymous. Yeah. Shut this down.
Don't goad them, man. Those guys don't fuck around.
I'm asking for their help. It's like I'm shining the Batman light. You know what I mean? Or was the big A light into the sky? And
Yeah, we would like to speak with someone from Anonymous. So
Yeah,
if you're
we'll try and-
if you're listening,
yeah.
which I know you are, then we'd like to have you on either show. So, we ask a few questions at the end to people on the show. I'm going to adjust the ages a little bit, but I'm going to hit you with them. Just basics. If you could make a phone call to the 15-year-old James Gill and give that young man a bit of advice, let's say pre GoSquared, so maybe just a little bit earlier than that, what advice would you give him? What would you tell him to do?
Oh, that is a good question. I would say don't be afraid to sort of like go down your own route. I know that like when we were young, everything at school was like, you're going to go to uni, you're going to go and then work in a job, you're then going to go and maybe one day, sometime when you're like 30, then you're going to go and start something. I just think like it's never been a better time to start your own thing. And I think people, even still at school, can be taking their own route. And don't be afraid to do your own thing. Yeah.
You skipped uni.
Yeah, other than 5 weeks.
And do you think, have you ever noticed, oh my gosh, I didn't go to university? Or have you ever been like, oh, I didn't study that? Or has it affected you at all?
I mean, I think I've got a better liver than a lot of my friends. But yeah, I know, I think I made quite a few friends while I was at uni, even in those 5 weeks. But, there were a lot of fun times that we may have missed out on, but we've had a lot of fun times doing what we've done, and we tried to make it a fun place. And one of the great things being in where we are in London, in White Bear Yard, is like there's a great community there, and the amount of new people you get to meet every day is, and the kind of relevant connections as well has been great. So I don't have many regrets, to be honest, but I can always go back to uni someday later.
Yeah,
they don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
The unis stay there.
They stay there.
Yeah, but it's interesting that, you're saying even at your age, which is younger than most people that have come through here, that you still didn't necessarily know that this was a career option for you.
Yeah, I mean, I just knew that like I loved design, and the web was becoming this huge like platform to build great ideas off of. But while I was at school, it was still like a massive question of, how can we turn this into something that is going to put bread on the table? And I think that's where it's so critical in the ecosystem to have people that know what they're talking about with money, and like things like Passion Capital. And there's such a great ecosystem now in London. We're not as crazy as Silicon Valley, but I think it's so evolved now compared to where it was even 4 years ago. And I think that is really helping a lot of people actually do what they want to do in their lives, and that's great.
Good thoughts there. What's the best advice you've ever received, business or personal?
Oh God,
I always get that reaction.
I don't know. Great. I don't know. There was a great quote that I have on my wall that's something like, some people dream of great accomplishments while others stay awake and do them. And that is a good one. But also just don't give up, like keep at it, and it'll work out, I think. Yeah.
Okay, last bit is, this is an interesting one. Advice to the people listening around the world that kind of were your age, 20, 18, about what they should do if they want to, get into tech, get into a startup, become a startup. What do you tell them?
I would say for us, we were building stuff, but we never had much of a community or many people knowing about it at first. And one of the critical things we did was start a blog and talk about it and start giving stuff away. And I think the more you can like give out there, that's quality, that's sharing valuable stuff, I think that all comes around. It's like karma. And I think that is a massive thing. Even if you haven't got a product yet, build something that can get you a community even without that product, and that's the most important thing. If you can get people knowing about you, talking with you, then you can build great products and software and companies off the back of that.
So get involved somehow.
Yeah, get involved and have like a story that people can kind of come to you and build a community around. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Do you see people jumping into the community now as a veteran that are getting in just because it's hot, just because they think it's the rock star, they think it's the way to do the quick flip? Yeah,
there's definitely a lot of people that I think when you're genuinely in the community, you can spot those people a mile off though. But I think there's a lot of people can build products right now, but building a loyal following and a loyal community and getting customers is the real challenge. And I think that takes a story, and that takes hard work over time. And I think unless you are building that from day one, then it's going to be tough. But I think that's really critical. So anyone trying to build a product, think about everything around that before you think it can be a company. Yeah.
Would you move to San Francisco?
Not right now, no.
No? Have you? I started watching Silicon Valley, that show.
Oh,
Like I had heard bad things about it, and I started watching to it. Oh Jesus!
I need to check that out.
I quite enjoy it. It's pretty funny, but it's also like scary to think that maybe even part of that could be true. It's just like, oh my
It's like
gosh,
Entourage-esque.
it is very entourage-esque. It's like everything is magnified, like the personalities and the stories, like
Yeah.
times 10, and I don't even know if I could breathe there. I don't know. Have you watched it? Do you
I
know?
haven't. I've heard a lot about it.
When you think about the valley, have you been out there? Or,
Yeah, I have. I mean, it's a great space. It's amazing. You go to Starbucks and everyone is in tech. Everyone's got a Facebook, Apple T-shirt, whatever. I think I've always been a Londoner though. I was born in London and now I live in London, and I just think it's such a great sort of hive of activity where not everyone is in tech. You've got creatives, you've got ad people, you've got finance, you've got everything. And I think that's the magic, where you get all these different industries combining. And I think that in some ways I'd hate to be somewhere that is only tech. You get into this echo chamber. I mean, I don't mind the valuations over in the valley,
or the capital.
Yeah,
some of your finances out of America.
So I was at an event last night and they were talking about valuations, and it's like, Just Eat got a pretty damn good valuation. Do you know what I mean? So it's it'd be tough to get a higher valuation over in the States. So maybe a little bit higher, but it's getting pretty
maybe
good.
The angel money gets sloshed around over there. A little
well, that's it. Maybe the earlier stages.
Maybe. But you make a good point.
Yeah.
And then if you watch that show, it's probably the worst thing to do. Because I'm from California and I watched that show and I'm like, Jesus, I don't think I could live it. Because like you said, it's like an echo chamber from hell. But it's a comedy series. It's on HBO. It's called Silicon Valley. If you don't know it, there's like 7 episodes. But
thumbs up or down?
I like it. I know, surprisingly. The writing is quite creative, and a lot of the comedy is really quite subtle. And actually, they don't dumb down what they're doing. So there actually is some tech in there. And I think some of the people are supposed to be personalities in the
right.
I think there's a Peter Thiel in there. I hope that's not Peter Thiel, because he's pretty creepy. This guy, I haven't met Peter, but anyways, I think they're making comments, but it's kind of fun to watch. So anyways, did I miss anything, Colin?
No, I
we
think
get a good
it's
snapshot
good,
there.
Yeah, really good.
James, it's really nice to meet you. You seem really capable at what you're doing. Like I said, I don't know why I didn't think you would be, but you really are a veteran.
Thanks.
Because you like you said, you're
super mature for your age. Like, when I was 23,
is that a backhanded compliment? James is like, if I hear that one more time.
Really? I don't know. You speak, like more intelligently than I do.
It's funny because
32.
I my best.
It's like when I think back when I was 23 and I was not very smart. Not that I am now, even, but
it's interesting because he saw the ecosystem like way before a lot of people did, and getting funding when this wasn't such a big community. And
I think it's such an interesting thing for young kids to. Because I always had ideas, right?
Yeah.
But I could never really implement them because I didn't have capital and I couldn't code and all this sort of stuff. So, we're in the age, if you can build, you can really get something going really quickly
so
and for almost nothing, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's, if as an entrepreneur, as a kid, to just learn to put the tools in your own hands, and you can kind of control your own destiny. I think it's really cool.
Stopping you.
Yeah, the barriers are so low now. Maybe too low. I
think it is. It's easier than ever to start something, but it's still damn hard to keep something working and grow it over time.
And I think that's what clears the suckers out is those hard times, the times where you miss that account, where it's hard to make payroll, and that clears the suckers out. So then you can really go the long lasting. And that's what I think shows. And like you said, the community can sniff out a fake, and the VCs definitely can. So if you don't get those successive rounds of funding, then people know what's up. People can do a free trial easily by going to GoSquared, right?
GoSquared.com.
And I meant that as a high compliment with the crack rock earlier. I'll show you my analytics.
Good crack rock.
They're a lot of fun. You can, I won't go on but you can see where people are coming from, if they came from this tweet, what they're looking at. It's really good stuff. So
I'm joining.
And like you said, I mean, if you go to Google Analytics, I mean, if you can't find what you're looking for in 5 or 10 seconds and you don't use it, then what's the point? So I don't know, I'm selling his company.
There we go.
Anyways, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Is
Brian.
Twitter good to get you at? Or
Twitter's great. Yeah, I'm James J. Gill. Yeah, so it's James Gill just with a J in the middle. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. On the Silicon Reel tip, this is episode 49. We got our big 5-0 coming. It's crazy.
Huge.
We hit episode 200 in the studio yesterday at London Reel.
Yeah,
so
that's huge.
Combined.
That's a lot of shows, eh?
That's a lot of shows, right? Yeah, it's crazy.
A lot of hours.
We had a meeting of the minds of the Silicon Reel crew here last Friday. We tweeted out. We got a bunch of people working with us behind the scenes, booking guests, working on sponsors. It's all good. I think we're looking for one more person. If you want to throw your hat in, it's tweet us or hello@siliconreel.com.
Reach out, man. If you're interested, you got nothing to do in the summer and you're interested in getting involved in tech, we could always use the help. There's so much that we can do to grow this community. We just need people to help us spread the word and get these videos out there, and some amazing conversations that kids that are 16, 17 can listen to and get inspired and learn something.
Yeah, plus you can meet people like, James or or all the guests that we've had. Yeah, or the important Yeah, it's all good. Cool. If you're listening to us on iTunes, come check our faces out on our website. Just Google Silicon Reel. You can see us on YouTube. It's about the people. James, thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure.
And all the best.
Cheers. Thanks.
Thanks, man.
All right, guys. Take care.
What we've tried to do is cut all the shit and just focus on what really makes working better. We see ourselves as a hospitality business. Our team are hospitality people. We won Service Business of the Year last year. It's probably London's only zombie-proof building. So when the apocalypse comes, come to Whitechapel. We've got off-the-grid power from generators. We've got a satellite dish bringing the internet. You go upstairs, you've got a 140-person event space called the Innovation Loft. If you have an event and you want to put it on somewhere, come and see us. It's free.